The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, CamiBaker.com here. Today I am the queen of the happiness jungle, and I am super excited to be here because I have a good friend that I am interviewing today, Miss Stacey Ellen. Stacey and I met at a speaking engagement a couple of years ago in San Francisco, and out of all the 33 speakers that were there at the event, she and I really hit it off and stayed in contact. And so when it was time to interview a transformational expert, of course, I thought of Stacey. Stacey, jump on and share with the folks a little bit about yourself and what makes you the transformational expert.
Hello there. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. What makes me the transformation? My story. I can tell you a little bit about my story. Quick note version here. But as most of you, I've been through a great deal of transformation in my life. Started at a very young age, 6 elementary schools, 2 high schools, always trying to fit in with the crowd and be liked and loved, because that's what happens right at a young age when you're growing and having to switch so many schools. And then from there, that pattern transferred into college. Went to college, and then in college it looked a little bit different there as far as transformation. I transformed into this party girl because that pattern of wanting to be liked was still there. But this time, it was, okay, I'm going to turn into this girl now that everyone liked. I knew all the cool places to go and all of that. And until I was headed down a pretty rough path. And right as I was about to graduate, universe, God, whatever you want to call, stepped in. And my life took on a very different direction. I got into a head-on collision, a near-death car accident, one where I went all the way through the windshield, back into the car, because I was driving Grandma's '89 Buick Century, no airbags, and I had my seatbelt on. So for years after that, I was physically transformed. I had scars. I literally was living with a very uneven face and smile, and had to, from that's when I first stepped into personal development, because I hated what I looked like on the outside. And so what I learned is that the transformation from that moment on, my mom was taking me to different healers and such, because I looked very funny for many years. And the whole key there was I had to learn how to transform, how to connect and love and honor myself from within and become my own best friend, because I didn't like what I looked like on the outside. And so that was many years of healing and going through a growth process there, and huge transformation in my life of healing. And from there it was, I did go on to college. I graduated college, so I went back, graduated, went into business. Again, this whole pattern of being liked and accepted, right? Now I'm going into business, which I love Chicago. I'm a Midwest girl, but moved to Chicago after I graduated because I wanted to make it in a big city. And some of you probably hear the word make it, right? Because I thought success meant, drive the best car, get the good condo, live downtown Chicago, big city girl. And I did that. And I started working my way up the corporate ladder. Learning a lot, small business, medium business, Fortune 500 companies. I was bringing in, hundreds of thousands of dollars for many people and helping other people become very financially successful, and myself financially successful at the time. But inside I was miserable. I just knew there had to be more to life than, working a way up a corporate ladder. And I learned about sales and marketing through all of that and building businesses, which, everything that we do in life, right, brings us back to who we are today, and we use that in how we are today. But I just knew I needed to make a change. And again, another transformation was upon me, and I stepped out early 30s, moved to San Diego, which is now where I am, and I work with people around the world, and it's a beautiful thing, but it took a while again to get here, and I firmly believe that the transformation starts from within, no matter where you are in life. Yeah.
I love when you said, you didn't like the way you looked on the outside. I remember when I got involved in personal development, I didn't like how I looked on the inside. And because I didn't like how I looked on the inside, I definitely didn't like what's going on the outside. I was just interviewed last week myself, and we were talking about image, and I was saying how, image comes from the inside out.
Yes.
It really does. And so, let's talk about that personal development a little bit, because for me, I've spent many years trying to fix myself and what's wrong with me, and feeling alone and isolated and separate from and all that kind of stuff. Talk to me a little bit about some of the self-development and how it's helped you to transform.
Yes, I'm so glad that you brought that up, and I love hearing that reflection, because I literally feel like you're reflecting me, because I also went through and still do. It's an ongoing process of pulling back the layers of who we are and really getting to know who we are from the inside out, and learning how to love ourselves from the inside out. And like what I had mentioned, it started for me after the accident. It was almost a forced start, right? Because I feel like divine stepped in and wanted me to flip my direction in life, which I did. Mm-hmm. However, it definitely is an ongoing process. And it really starts with radical self-love and self-acceptance. No matter where you are in life, what's going on, really learning to understand that everything that you are consciously, actually not even consciously, subconsciously mostly creating, what's going on around you at all times. And so if you don't like what's going on around you, then there is something that you need to look at from within, because you're creating that in tandem, I believe, with a higher power, universal wisdom, intelligence, guidance. So, but as you're going through that, it is the radical, yes, I'm going through a learning growth process, and I'm going to love myself through this. And sometimes, as you mentioned, that can be the hardest.
I like to say, the more I know I don't know, and the more I know I need to know. The more I coach and mentor people, the more I realize that I don't know, and the more I know I need to know, and the more I know that when I learn more stuff, the more I can give to others. I had a mentor one time who called it baby bird bites. She said, Cami, you get baby bird bites from someone, and you give the baby bird bites, and giving them baby bird bites so that we can all digest it and take it in. And you're right. When you get to a place, we did a show here on Happiness Jungle about failure, because people will use that word in a negative way, but we use it in a positive way. If you're not failing, shame on you, because you're not trying. If you are just totally complacent, then shame on you. You got to fail forward in order to be able to grow and to learn and develop into more of a person. So when you're helping your clients to transform, what are some of the things that you do with them? What are some exercises or some steps or some things that you help them to really realize and get to know who they are?
Yes. So, and just so you know, I do work with many entrepreneurs, but there's also people that I work with, not just entrepreneurs, because we all go through the same phases of learning and growth. And it may look a little different on the outside, but the more we do the inner work and the inner self-acceptance, self-love, self-mastery, as we become more self-actualized, right? And as we become more self-actualized, then we become more conscious human beings, which then can make a bigger impact in the world. And that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
So as I work with people, one of the foundational things that we do is build that self-love muscle. Let's just call it a muscle.
Yeah.
A self-love muscle. Because, muscles aren't always strong at first, but you build them, they grow. You see it grow, and it grows a little bit at a time. And that's funny I use that analogy, because most of the time I think I use the tree. You plant the seeds and it grows a little bit, and and then you keep watering it. It's not going to sprout right away, but if you keep watering it, and that's what I do with my clients. So we do these self-love practices. So and I call them practices, not work, because work feels heavy. So practices, we're practicing a little, every day we're practicing these. And sometimes it depends on what's going on in somebody's life, but sometimes it's literally saying the affirmations, your intentions. I find it really important, and it's interesting when clients come to me, sometimes they don't even know what they want. And I find that extremely eye-opening, because if we don't know what we want, we can't create it. And we just start to living what comes to us. So then we're just reacting to our reality rather than responding to it and be able to be out in front of it and create what we want. And so, in order to start to do that, though, it's a process of going inward, as we talked about. And the affirmations are starting to affirm that. But before the affirmations can even work, because people are like, oh, I'm like, you could feel like you're heavy, and you can keep saying, I'm thin, I'm thin, I'm thin, and you're not thin, right? Like you can physically see yourself, I'm not thin. So in order to really allow these affirmations to work, one thing is we have to choose that we're ready for change. We have to claim to the universe, I am ready to change this now. Like I am ready. I am full on, ready. And that's something that can alter it over time. And then also really becoming aware and taking responsibility for everything that you have created already. That's a huge foundational piece of taking radical responsibility of every, what you want to change, because you're in that spot, right? Like you're in that spot for a reason, because you've created it. So in order to change it, that radical responsibility has to come into play. Yeah.
I love that. I love radical responsibility, because I know for me, one of the biggest ways that I've been able to change from my alcoholism and getting sober, from just feeling like I just was totally worthless, and it's about taking responsibility, not pointing and blaming other people, not feeling guilty either. It's not about feeling guilty. It's about totally just taking responsibility. I love when you said, whatever we're living right now in this moment is actually old news. Like you and I right now doing this interview, it took us, a couple of weeks of setting it up and a thought that happened and me inviting you and now here, this is kind of old news. Like right now we're creating what's going to be happening, down the road. And when you talk about affirmations, when people ask me how I am and I say I am fabulous, fierce, and on fire, I say that for a few reasons. Because look, who wants to be good? Why would anybody want to be okay?
Right.
I'm fine.
Yeah. Right.
I when I say that, it's a tagline, and I've got T-shirts made and all that, but for me, it truly is an affirmation. And sometimes when I say I'm fabulous, fierce, and on fire, I'll actually say, and thank you for allowing me to say that one more time today. Because even if in that moment I'm not really feeling fabulous, fierce, and on fire, just saying it helps me to step into that. And I want to be those things. I want to feel that way. So talk to us about how you help your clients to actually create the affirmations. I know when I help people create affirmations, I make sure that they understand it's in the now. It's not I want to be something, it's I am. Whatever it is. I am fabulous. I don't want to be fabulous. I am right now.
Yes.
What are some other tips about affirmations?
Well, first off, that was beautiful. I love yours. Fabulous, fierce, and on fire. That's so, powerful, and that keeps you in your power. And I could see it as you're saying it, how in your power you are. And that's beautiful. And so that, a reflection of that would be for somebody else is to really, they have to tweak it to what's going on with them. Now, one thing to remember first, though, as far as affirmations is being, going back to that radical responsibility of accepting and approving of yourself right here, right now. Because that's, again, first what has to come into play, because I'll play with my clients a little bit and I'll have them go there right away if they want to put an affirmation together. However, if they're not feeling connected to it, then we have to sit a little more in the approval space. So something of that nature would be like, I approve of myself my beauty, my health. I approve of my lifestyle, like just really approving anything and everything where you are in this very moment. And so the approval is important, key to then being able to really start to manifest and create the abundance, create what you want. We first had to be in complete connection and alignment with where we are now and in gratitude for it. So that's one of the keys.
Maybe acceptance. So like approval and acceptance before the affirmation. I'm all about alliteration. It helps me.
Correct.
So approval and acceptance and then affirm.
Yes. Approval, acceptance, and then affirm. So then when you're affirming it, and in a quick exercise I've had somebody do just to give something right now would be, on a piece of paper lying down the middle, and one side, you're just saying whatever's coming up. So you're getting it out, because that's another thing. We keep all of our emotions. We keep our, there's so much that we keep in our physical bodies, which then leads to sickness and illness and all that. We don't express. And so, fully express how you're feeling, what's going on within you. In that moment, you sit down to write this on the left-hand side. And these are probably more negative things. If your mind's in it, it's going. And then on the right-hand side, we can transform those, just as you had mentioned, into proactively affirming in the now whom we want to be in this very moment. So if you're saying something like, I don't feel worthy, it's simple as I am worthy, and using the affirmation of I am, I will, I believe, so those are very strong words to then reclaim your power, reclaim who you are in that moment. And so that's a simple, you can see. And so then it's a great reminder, right? When get stuck in your mindset and mind starts going and going, to really go back to that sheet of paper and start to reaffirm who you really are, which is on the right-hand side of the paper in that.
Reaffirm, reconnect. We are in Mercury in retrograde right now.
Yes.
So all of the re's are happening. Get, reestablished and recommit and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah.
I love to hear stories. Tell us a story about someone that you've worked with, where they were, and then with working with you, what was one of the beautiful outcomes, whether it was business or love or life or health. Tell us a little story.
Thank you. There's a few that come to mind. One that I love, whom I know she doesn't mind me sharing. Her name is Jen. And Jen I worked with, it was a couple years ago now, but Jen was amazing. She came to me with a full spectrum, and she was somebody that was working in corporate land. She called it cubicle land. I'm sure some of you have been in cubicle land. She wanted to get out of cubicle land. And also, but not just that, she wanted to be more in her power. She didn't feel empowered in her relationship, empowered in her life, in her work, in her friendships. Because if it's not there within yourself, it literally, everything is interconnected, so it spans to all areas of your life. That's why, when I work with people and we start doing that inner work, everything in their life starts to change. It's not just, oh, I'm going to make more money. Yes, when you do the inner work, money is a result of that. That's just one thing. But what if you felt, that sense of freedom and love and power in every area of your life? Because that's what's possible. Now for Jen, she was working in corporate, and it was a marketing agency, actually. She still called it corporate, because to her, she was, had to do what they said, when and where, how, and wanted to step away from there. And so as we started doing a lot of this inner work, everything started changing in her mind, not even in her mind, in her life. She started feeling more healthy. Her mindset, she started to raise the vibration. Because here's the deal, everything is energy and vibration. So as you do this inner work to clear out your old belief systems, your old habits, patterns, you get to infuse more energy into who you are. And then that increases the vibration of who you are. And then you start to attract all the things you want. And so that's what ended up happening. Her health got improved. She was able to step away from the marketing agency, and that was something she had always dreamt of doing, but she was very do it and was scared to step out on her own because, as we know, as entrepreneurs, that can be very scary when you first step out. But I was side by side with her as she did it, and oh my gosh, the woman, she has $1 million clients. She has 10 employees.
Nice.
She's skyrocketed, and a lot of it was, really sitting. She did some of the harder work of really, connecting with and sitting with your own emotions and seeing her blind spots. We did a lot of the internal work, but it has completely transformed her life and relationships. She, has now her husband's better. Like, it was just, it was beautiful.
Well,
to see.
Thank you so much for the work that you do in the world, because the inner work it is the transformation. And like you said, whether someone comes to you or me or anyone else, if they come to us about business, it still changes the vibration of their personal relationships. Like right now, I have a coach around romantic relationships.
Awesome.
And I know that as I'm working my way through the romantic relationship aspect, it just makes me a better coach, a better business person, because my vibration is shifting from in one area. So how we do anything is how we do everything. And so that's awesome. And what a great testimony. Do you get your testimonials on video? Do you have them on your website anywhere?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know. Do I have Jen's? I don't think I have hers on a video. I have it written out. So she's on there. My website, StaceyEllen.com. Definitely have other testimonies, some video on there. But yes, that is a great practice, right? Getting your success stories on video, because then you can reuse the video everywhere.
Absolutely. And that way you can certainly help and serve more people, because when, it's social proof and all that. So, So you mentioned that you work with entrepreneurs, employees, you work with corporations, you work with individuals or whole groups, et cetera, et cetera. So talk to us a little bit about, it sounds like the people that would be attracted to you are those of us who understand transformation and doing the inner work. So how does someone normally find you? Like, how do you normally find these clients? And for the folks who are watching this broadcast right now, how would they find you? And what is your perfect ideal type of a client to work with?
Thanks. Well, I'm also a speaker, as you mentioned. So a lot of people, that's where I normally attract many of my clients, because they see me speaking. Because as you know, when somebody connects with you live, that's one of the best ways, because they're in your energy, they're seeing you, they're getting to know you, and some either resonates with your message or they don't, right?
Yep.
So speaking is where person able to connect with more and more. And I love inspiring and teaching from that standpoint, because it is a way to get your message out to a lot more people and help change and restructure and help people really step into the greatest version of their life. So speaking's been amazing for that. As far as getting more, so people that, it's interesting. I've had some different people in different areas of their life be attracted to me, and I do think many times that people say, other coaches will say, you have to have a niche, you have to look like this, and you have to only serve these people. And for me, I might get in a little trouble for this, but I'm a firm believer that yes, when you're launching a certain program, program or a certain mastermind or something, yes, your marketing, your copy, everything is targeted towards that person, right? However, there could be other types of programs that you launch as well. What people are attracted to is you, right? Mm-hmm. People want to know that they work with you and be in your energy. So sometimes I think people get too stuck on it's got to look like this in a certain niche. So I've had people come to me, yes, they're definitely people that are more open to taking on and looking at themselves. That is definitely a requirement, because if we're not open to looking at ourselves and somebody just wants business strategy, I'm not the perfect woman for that. Yes, I have a whole background of building businesses. Yes, I've made a lot of people successful in that. So I have all that marketing and sales background. But I also know if we're not doing that internal work as somebody grows into that, then they're not going to sustain the wealth, or it's going to go like this. And so it's my really help people, get to that place where they want, and first understanding what it is they want. Many times people don't even know how much money they want to make. Like, we have to affirm it within ourselves and to the universe. This is what I want, right? In order to be created. So yes, people really open and willing to do some of that inner work, and they're ready. They're ready. They might be on, like, they're ready to make some big change in their life. And
I hear that. And when you talk about people not really knowing what they want, I was speaking with a woman a couple of weeks ago, and at first she said, well, I want to make $3,000 a month. And then when I said, you only want to make $36,000 a month or a year, she said, that doesn't sound like much. No, I want to make 100. So it's just so funny. I mean, what a huge difference that is.
Yes.
And that that was a big transformation right in that one moment. But it's not that people can't achieve their goals. It's that they never set them and don't really know what they are. So I love that you work with people on really getting clear on what they want, because that's sorely needed. We have exactly 60 seconds. Give us your last little tiny thing that people can do right now to understand what it is that they want.
Reach out, find mentorship. Find that person, because when we're in the muck, we can't see outside of ourselves. As Les Brown always says, when you're in the picture, you can't see the frame around you.
Yes.
So find that mentor, find that coach, find somebody that you can work with to really enable you to get to where you want to go. I mean, anybody in this world, I believe it's possible for you to be, do, have, and create anything you want, and a coach will help you achieve that.
Be, do,
faster,
have,
better, with ease, because we don't have to fight to make things happen.
We don't.
So
we don't, guys.
Yeah.
We do not have to fight to make things happen. And when you want to make things happen fast, have some transformation, and really get down to the root of the matter, reach out to Stacey Ellen. Stacey, it has been my honor to serve you and to have you on the show. We are coming to a close. We'll have your credentials right up on the screen so people can find you, StaceyEllen.com. CamiBaker.com here, saying goodbye from the Happiness Jungle for this week, and we want to see you be happier. Bye-bye.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.